2024 is almost halfway done, and the year has been stacked with bangers already. The last half of the year looks to be even busier, as we just had a ton of games announced for this year during Summer Game Fest. Hi folks, this is Cliffhanger DK, and today we're going to cut through that noise and talk about the 5 best reviewed games from the first half of the year according to Metacritic. A few of these are very small, obscure titles, so in preparation for this video I was honestly quite surprised myself. To stay on topic, this list will not include remasters, expansions, or so-called complete editions. We're looking for games with mostly original work, or at the very least a complete remake. And this perfectly takes us to the highest reviewed new release of the first half of 2024. With a Metacritic score of 92, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the second game in the remake project of Final Fantasy VII. The original Final Fantasy VII released on the original PlayStation way back in 1997. Saying that Final Fantasy VII was an influential game would be a wild understatement. It's just one of those games that most gamers from the 90s have played. It really went against the classic RPG tropes by not being set in a fantasy universe of wizards and dragons and... well, anyways. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the second game in a trilogy that is part remake, part reimagining of the original story. Without spoiling too much, it's quite wild what they're doing with the story compared to the original. What is notable about Rebirth is that the first game, Remake, was quite linear in story, whereas this one is open world. That part specifically I've heard quite some debate about. Some people love it, while others call it unnecessary busy work. Personally, I'm of the mind that as a busy gaming dad, I only engage with side stuff if it really is great, so for me it's not a big deal. Rebirth also has one of the best card games in any video game, Queen's Blood, but that could probably be an entire video on its own. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is currently available on PlayStation 5, but the last game released on PC 1.5 years later, so I expect we will see that announced within the next year. Next up is Animal Well. This one is currently sitting at 91 on Metacritic. This game and our next game really came out of the blue. Animal Well is a passion project from a single developer, Billy Basso. He started working on the game back in 2017, and in 2022 he shifted to working on the game full-time. Just looking at how the game looks or is described, it's easy to brush it off as another of those. This is a 2D Metroidvania puzzle game with graphics reminiscent of a Commodore 64 platformer. For you younger kids out there, the Commodore 64 is a home computer that released way back before I was born in 1982.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
But don't be fooled, Animal Well is quite complex. It's made in a fully homemade game engine and includes particles, dynamic lighting, and even some of the animations are procedurally generated. What really makes this one stick out is how it treats exploration and puzzle design. Unlike most Metroidvanias, you are never really engaging in combat, rather you're trying to find ways to avoid it. This mechanic really blends in well with the already great puzzle design, and combined with the graphic style, the excellent use of lighting and effects combined with an amazing sound tapestry, Animal Well is definitely one of the more special indie titles in recent years. Animal Well is available on PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Another indie title that released this year and may not look like much is Balatro. Actually, this game being on this list had me incredibly worried for this video because I'm having a hard time imagining any game looking as dull on video as this one. Which is why it's also quite a pleasant surprise to tell you that Balatro is currently sitting at 90 out of 100 on Metacritic. So what is it? Well, this is a poker-themed roguelike deck builder that takes the general rules of poker and adds a heavy sprinkle of video game on top. Even though it's poker themed, you only really need to know a few things. Each round you try to gather hands to reach a set score to advance. At first glance this might look simple, but eventually the game becomes way deeper. Suddenly there are boss battles and different kinds of modifiers with jokers, different kinds of cards. You can also level up the different hands you can play, meaning that suddenly a pair can be worth more than a flush. Balatro is available on PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 and 5, as well as Xbox Series X, S, and 1. Now, what is also pretty cool is that...
Get ready for the next battle.
Okay, guess we'll move on. Last year or so, we have been blessed with amazing fighting games, and Tekken 8 is no exception, with a Metacritic score of 90. Most fighting games today are all taking place on a 2D plane. Tekken 8 is probably the last great 3D fighter out there. Boy, this is a good one. The game is absolutely packed to the gills with content. Where Tekken 7 felt very more of the same, here we're just treated to a smorgasbord of content. There are 32 fighters, 3 of which are new. There is a cinematic story mode, a fantastic full adventure mode, and that is not even everything. Tekken Ball, the volleyball-like mode from Tekken 3, is also back. I mean, look at it. It's Tekken Ball. Aside from that, you can yet again customize your characters, and there is of course also both local and online play against other people. Without going into too much detail, they really do take a lot of risks with this one and push the formula forward. 90% of it pays off, so Tekken 8 is really just an easy recommendation. Personally, I'm just excited that they actually took the time to do a cool story mode, especially after I got burned on the story mode from Tekken 7, which was literally a slideshow of drawings with a very uninteresting narrator telling the story from the perspective of a journalist. That one was rough, to say the least. Tekken 8 is available on the Xboxes, PlayStation, and PC. Then finally, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is sitting at 89 on Metacritic. If you don't know, Like a Dragon is the new Western name for the Yakuza series. In fact, Yakuza was the Western name, whereas Like a Dragon is actually the correct translation of the Japanese title. The Like a Dragon games have a huge lineage, with almost 25 titles in total taking place in the universe. On paper, this is an action-adventure JRPG. This one also takes place in Hawaii, which is a cool new setting for the series. The thing with the Like a Dragon games is honestly the minigames and the story. This is a Japanese game at its finest. Like, these characters always get into the most batshit insane situations. Minigames include video game classics like karaoke, darts, and golf, or hey, how about doing deliveries on a bicycle while doing tricks? There's even off-brand versions of Pokemon and Animal Crossing. Like, there are almost entire games within the game. You can easily get lost in this one, and the main story alone can take you well over 50 hours. Those 50 hours are well spent though. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth can be played on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Few bonus games here for you, as we took them off the list for being DLC and re-releases. Destiny 2: The Final Shape, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, and Horizon Forbidden West Complete Edition were all around the 90s, and interestingly, all 3 owned by PlayStation. And those are our games. Did you play any of these? Do you disagree with their score? If so, why? Let's discuss it in the comments. I also recommend my video 5 games you should play before GTA 6 is out. If you're in a completely different mood, I recommend my video explaining why Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora could become a cult hit in the next 10 to 5 years. Have a great day.
Zone under assault. Revenge kill. A professional courtesy. Capture zone is moving.